Okay, we are continuing with estimation and we're going to be looking at the difference between estimation and calculations. So in this video, we are going to look at the fact that when we estimate, we are rounding and coming up with a rough idea of what the answer is. And when we calculate, we are working out an exact answer. So that might involve a calculator or it might just involve longer calculations. So a school puts on a show and charges £4.50 a seat. The school has capacity for 27 rows of chairs and 48 chairs in each row. And it says, it's got two parts here. It says estimate the amount of money the school will make and calculate the amount of money. So they're both very different questions. So for the first bit, we're going to estimate. So what we'll do is we'll just round these numbers sensibly. So £4.50, that's about £5. 27 rows is about 30 rows. And then 48 chairs, we're going to round that to 50. So we're going to do the approximately equals to sign there, and then we're going to change that to equals here because we're going to work out the exact answer to our approximation. So 5 times 30 times 50. So one way to do that might be to do 5 times 3 times 10 times 5 times 10. And then we're going to multiply the 5 and the 3 and the 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 3, 75 times, and then 10 times 10 is 100. So that would give us £7,500. That is our estimation for this. And it's next bit, it says calculate the specific amount. So if I'm going to use a calculator here just to make this a bit easier. So £4.50, we're going to put the exact amount in here. So £4.50 times 27 times 48. And that's going to give us 5,832. So let's write that down, 5,832. So what we did was 4.5 times 27 times 48. And you can see they're not that close, but this is just an estimation. And now it says compare your answers to part 1 and 2. Explain why they are different. Well, the main reason for the difference is, in this case, for the estimation, we've actually rounded all of these up, these numbers. So for part 3, we have rounded up. That's our explanation. So our estimation is going to be an overestimate. Olivia calculates the total income for the school as £583,200. Explain how Olivia could use estimation to check her answer. So our estimate was actually not exactly that close to 5,800, but it gives us an idea that it's going to be around, it's going to be less than 10,000. And that's just a sensible way for us to check, well, actually, this very quick calculation allowed us to know that actually this is roughly the ballpark figure that we're expecting to get. So that would have helped us see that error. And sometimes even in other topics or any topic, students will make silly mistakes because they just have to have a rough idea of what their answer should look like. So it's always good to estimate before you do certain questions, so you know what to expect or what you are expecting. So let's do a couple of worded questions. Try the question on the left and then try the question on the right. They are both estimation questions, and then I'm going to have a go on these as well, and I'll give you some hints. Okay, so I'm going to do the first one. Mr. Bissell decides to run a series of races. Day 1, he runs 63 miles, then 9, then 11, 24.6, and he gets £22.52 per mile. Estimate how much he raises. So we're going to need to do some addition here, and then we're going to have to multiply it by that number, and we want to keep it easy. So this is what I would suggest, and I hope you did something similar. You may have done very slightly different numbers, but that's fine if it's estimation. So we're going to do 60. So the 63 will become 60. So 60 plus 9 is just make that 10. The 11 will just be 10 as well, plus 25. And then whatever that adds up to, we're going to multiply it by 20 because 22.52 which is going to be roughly 20. So we're going to write approximately equal to that. Now this calculation is exact. So 60 plus 20 is 80. 80 plus 25 is 105 times 20. Now this is not as hard as it might look, so it's 105 times 2 times 10. So 105 times 2 is 210 multiplied by 10, which gives you £2,100. So this is how much we would estimate for him to make. So for the next question, we have Mr. Chiro. He hires 3 people to mark his tests. Person 1, 2 and 3 mark this many papers an hour. Each person is hired for 8.5 hours. How many papers will they mark? Okay, so what we want to do first is round these numbers here. So I can see 15 is nice as a general number. 22, we might make that into 20. Now for 13, we could make it 10 or we could make it 15. Now because we already have a 15 here, it might make sense to round this paper 1 up. Person 1, so 15 plus 20 plus 15. So this is how many papers we're estimating is marked in 1 hour. And we're going to multiply that by, and we're going to decide this number in a second after we do this addition. So 15 plus 15 is 30. 30 plus 20 is 50. And then we are going to multiply it by, now 8.5, we might make that into 9 rather than 10. You may have decided to make it 10 and that would actually probably be fine. So here this is going to be 50 times 9, which is the same as, so that's going to be 5 times 10 times 9, which is 5 times 9 times 10, so 45 times 10 is 450. So 450 papers roughly, and you can work out the exact amount by just using your calculator. Okay, let's move on. We're going to try some questions here. Do these in your books, round the answers, and I'm going to show you the answers in a few minutes, in a few seconds I mean. So for the first one, you should have answers for these now. So we're estimating the amount of money spent on calculator. So 104 students is essentially it's 100 students times £6, £600. Now because we have rounded the number of students down and the cost down, this is going to be an underestimate because we have rounded down. So underestimate because we rounded all numbers down, or we rounded down. Okay, the next one. Phoebe pays £2.8 pence per minute to use her phone. So every minute she speaks on the phone is 2.8 pence. On average, Phoebe uses her phone 77 minutes a day, and she pays her phone bill for 29 days. What's an estimate for the cost? So 2.8 is basically 3p a minute, and we're going to multiply it by 80 minutes a day, and then multiply that by 30 days. So this is an estimation, and I'm going to break this down now. So this is the same as 3 times 8 times 10 times 3 times 10. And then we're going to multiply the 3 and the 8 and the 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 8. So we're going to write that underneath here. So that will be 72 times 100, which is 7,200. Now that looks like a big bill, but we're talking about pence. So this is actually £72 and 0 pence. Okay, the last one I'm not going to go through. You can estimate that. That's a bit of a longer question. And the final exercise for you to do for estimation, have a go at all of these questions, and I'm going to show you the answers in 5 seconds. So pause the video if you need more time, which you do because I haven't given you enough time to do this. try all of these, round them, work out the answers, approximate answers, and now compare them to the answers which are now on the screen. Now you may have rounded some of these slightly differently. For example, the first question, you may have just rounded that as 38 minus 9 or 39 minus 9. That would have been just as valid. Some of these are usually they're quite straightforward as well. So mark your work, smash the like button, hit subscribe. You know what to do. I'll see you in the next video.